All right, Brian, in part two of today's show here on the Irish Breakdown podcast, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, we're diving into Notre Dame's roster and their depth chart at the wide receiver position. Definitely going to be a fun conversation. Spent part one talking about how talented it is. But with that being said, there are still individual pieces that every single player is going to have to work on. That's something that we're going to dive into in the second part of today's show.
Yeah, and we'll the last show was kind of about what Mike Brown and Mike Denbrock need to do, and we'll talk more about the specifics of the receiver room. And this, as I'm comfortable saying, is a starting point. I didn't get a chance to update the numbers here, but the heights and weights have been updated here. But of where I expect them to kind of start day one. But what you're going to see from this, Trevor, is you're going to see a lot of movement here. And I have all the newcomers at the bottom. This isn't like this is going to be the depth chart. This is more of where they're going to be playing position-wise. But this is the rooms that we're going to see the battles, right? And so you're going to need to see you will see, I believe, a little bit more movement within the depth chart this year. I think we'll see more of Jordan Faison playing more than just the X. And then I did talk to someone the other day, Trev. They have brought back the old group or position names. So what used to be the Z is the X in the Notre Dame offense. The Z is the slot, and then the boundary receiver is the W. So that used to be the case back the first Mike Denbrock's first go around. They are doing that again. It is what it is, but at least that gives you a sense of what those are.
Okay.
So I do think we'll see Faison move around a little bit more. I think we'll see Jaden Greathouse move a little bit more. And part of the reason is if you look at that X receiver depth chart, and then you also consider that Cam Williams can also play Z. And I think Z might still be his best position. I just think there's a greater need for him in the boundary. There's a lot more confidence, I believe, from the coaching staff, from some people I've talked to in that position from a depth standpoint, which I think is going to give them the sense that, hey, we do have the flexibility to move Jordan Faison around, to move Jaden Greathouse around, because we can put Elijah Burris on the field. We can put Mylan Graham on the field. We can put Caden Finley on the field, or we can put even Cam Williams on the field because of a strong offseason at that Z position, which means we don't have to always have Jordan Faison here. So I do expect some of that this year. A lot of guys have to prove themselves because there's a grand total of like 8 catches at that position. What did Burris have last year? 2 or 3, right? He had at least 2, I think. Up. Elijah had 3 last season. So there's a grand total of 9 career catches at Z behind Jordan Faison, with Mylan Graham having 6 last season. So you don't have a lot of proven production there, but you've got length, you've got speed, and you've got playmaking ability. And so I do think you're going to see a little bit more of that. In the slot, I don't know that I love the depth behind Greathouse as much from a proven standpoint as I do at Z or even the boundary. And so I think that factors into that as well. Like, who do you want to get on the field after Jaden Greathouse? Do you want to get Logan Soldate on the field, Matt Jeffrey? Or do you want to get Jordan Faison there with Burris, Graham, or Finley playing some Z? I think that's going to be the battle this spring is that. Now, right now, your answer might be, I'd probably want to go with Elijah Burris, Mylan Graham, or Kane Finley. But that's right now. For Logan Soldate, Matt Jeffrey, Bubba Frazier, Braden Robinson, you want to spend the spring saying, no. You go ahead and leave number 6 out there. When Jaden comes off field, I got this. And that's what they're going to have to, go out there and prove this spring and into fall camp. But once again, Trev, flipping Braden Robinson's your number 5 guy right now in the slot. In the slot, a small but explosive elite athlete that's been over 1,000 yards receiving the last 2 years each year in the state of Texas. Or your number 5 man at being your future All-American elite athlete lacrosse player, Matt Jeffrey. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a lot of talent in that room, dude. A lot of talent in that room. So this is kind of the general starting point of where people are and where I think the battles will kind of go as soon as things get started.
It's definitely a good visual to work off of. This is a very talented group, but it is one of the most inexperienced receiver groups outside of Jordan Faison and Jaden Greathouse that Mike Brown has had to work with in South Bend, and probably the most inexperienced one that Mike Denbrock has had to work with since his time back in South Bend as well. So very interesting to see the development, but it's deep. That's the biggest thing. That's my biggest takeaway from this picture is you don't need, every single person in the 2 slot at every single position group to pan out or you're screwed. It's not that way, which is a really good position to be in. But that being said, puts a lot of heavy emphasis on the development, a lot of emphasis on the development. But I love the state of where this big picture depth chart is at right now in terms of just where people are going to be playing. The talent's undeniable, man. It really is.
It is. I mean, as we look at this group, Trev, and we kind of kick things off a little bit with let's kind of dive into the specific players. I think it starts obviously with Jordan Faison. And there's really 2 questions about Jordan Faison. The most basic is, can you repeat what you did last year? Like, that's literally all I need Jordan Faison to do. And I don't even necessarily mean that from a number standpoint. There's a world, Trevor, in which he doesn't match last year's production in the regular season. Maybe he's at 41 catches for 580 yards because A, they're blowing a lot of people out, and B, they're trying to limit the snaps because they want Jordan fresh in December, in January. I don't care that Jordan Faison caught 3 extra balls for 50 extra yards against Rice. I care that he's going to catch 3 extra balls for 50 yards against Georgia in the playoffs. You know what I mean? But I'm talking about the level of play. And Jordan got better, and I thought he struggled out of the gate. I didn't think he played well the first couple games. And I thought his game really took off like around kind of week 3. Him and CJ started connecting a little bit more. All he was really doing the first 2 games was catching a little like hitches and screens. It's really all he was doing the first 2 games. And I thought him and CJ really started to connect better as the season went on. Obviously, he caught a long touchdown pass against Purdue for a touchdown. I mean, his first 2 games, Trev, against Miami and A&M, Jordan Faison caught 7 passes for 50 yards. And then what did he do the next 3 as he started to get more comfortable? 5 for 105, 7 for 89, 6 for 83, 4 for 49, 6 for 60, 4 for 82. Next couple games, he didn't do a whole lot. Finishes the year going 3 for 68. And so I thought him and CJ started to connect a little bit more. I think Jordan better understood how his game works outside in this offense, and his game took off. So, even if the production doesn't match, the level of play when he gets the ball is there. But I think the other thing Jordan Faison's got to understand is, dude, when you're out there and you're going hard, even if you're not the primary receiver, you're going to attract attention that then makes it easier or gives more room to the other guys. There was something, Trev, I mean, how many times did I just basically start screaming at you either on the phone or via text at watching the receivers? It was more venting. I wasn't screaming at Trevor. I was screaming to Trevor, where how's it my fault?
Trevor, get it together. Also, did you see that receiver film?
Yeah. He was just as mad as I was. But there was a play against Boise State, I believe it was, where CJ Carr's reading left and Will Pauling's backside, and he's jogging on his backside dig because he doesn't think he's going to get the ball. And CJ turns back to find him, and he's still behind the linebacker because he wasn't running full speed. Where if he's going full speed, CJ looks back, throws it into the open window, Will Pauling catches it, and jogs into the end zone for a touchdown. There was so much of that last year that used to just drive me absolutely nuts. That's got to stop, because that's how your production actually could go up. But for Faison, it's you got to at least be what you were last year. But then the other question is, Trevor, is there another level for Jordan Faison? I actually think there is. Maybe not so much from a production standpoint if the ball gets spread around a lot, but from an impact standpoint, from a big play standpoint, if he can do the things that we've talked about, which is there's a whole nother level for Jordan Faison from a consistency of effort standpoint and a consistency of focus standpoint and a technical proficiency standpoint. There's a lot of times that Jordan just shows that he still isn't quite mastered the route running stuff. it still looks like he's a converted quarterback lacrosse player playing receiver. And do you know why it looks like that sometimes, Trevor? Because that's what he is. He didn't play wide receiver in high school. And things like how to properly manipulate an off corner, an off coverage corner when running a post route. It's not just about giving a head and shoulder fake at the top. It's about if he's playing outside leverage of you, keep widening him out. Push that leverage. Get on his toes, then snap him off and get over the top. You know what I mean? It's about, dude, you're running a stop route. Really accelerate once you get, just really sell that go route. And then when you stop and you drive your hips, because nobody's as good getting out of breaks with a 1-2 than Jordan Faison. He's got great feet and balance. You really understand, look, man, I got to drive the top end of this route. Get that guy to flip his hips. And then you're catching that comeback route with that dude just now planning and coming back to you, and you get to square him up. He's got to understand he can give himself more opportunities to make plays with how he runs routes. Because when he gets the ball in space, he's dangerous. He showed that last year. But he's got to learn how to better give himself the separation he's capable of getting consistently. That he'll get at times against inferior opponents, but he doesn't get as much against the better opponents, not because he doesn't have the ability to do so, Trev, because he doesn't have the technical prowess to maximize the ability he does have. So that's why I think Jordan not playing lacrosse, if he's spending that time just learning the finer points of playing receiver, his game could really take off next year and give them even more of a playmaker than they had last year. And I'm looking forward to that because he was a guy that was a typical receiver. He did most of his work on non-screens up to the point of the catch. He didn't do a ton after the catch last year, but he should be doing a lot after the catch because of his skill set. And as he learns to be a more proficient route runner, instead of having 1.5 yards after the catch, he's going to have 3, 4, 5 yards after the catch. That's when he becomes dangerous. Because that's when he was good is when he was catching screens and had room to work. He could square guys up and go do damage. If he can start being better with route manipulation, corner manipulation, and get better with his top ends and accelerating out of breaks and understand that, hey, you want to be a quick 1-2, drive those hips into the ground, 1-2, come out of them instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, come out of them. Dude, you're going to be a way better player and a way more dangerous player. So I actually do think there is definitely another level, in my opinion, to what Jordan Faison is capable of, which is kind of scary when you think about it because he was pretty darn productive last year in an offense that didn't throw the ball a whole lot, Trev. You look at it and you think, well, CJ was on pace for 3,000 yards if they would have a playoff game and all that kind of stuff. But do you know that Notre Dame averaged fewer attempts per game last year than they did the year before with Riley Leonard? They ranked 108th in college football last year in passing attempts.
Wow.
They were at 26.9. And with Riley Leonard, they were at 27.8. Well, here's why. Under Riley Leonard, they averaged 7.1 yards per attempt. Under CJ, they were at 9.5. You know what I mean? So it's like they were so much more explosive with the pass game. They could get to the end zone in 2 passes as opposed to 6. You know what I mean? Like that's a big part of the difference of why. And if they would have made the playoffs, it probably would have gone up a little bit. But they ranked 108th in college football last year in passing attempts. So your numbers aren't going to be elite. I think we're going to see more of that this year. But maybe your catches don't improve, but your yards per catch go up 2-3 yards because you're now giving yourself that extra room. Those are things that I think Jordan Faison is capable of doing if he can take the technical parts of his game to another level and the consistency to another level.
Yeah, you and I see the outlook on Jordan Faison the same. Look, basically what we saw last year wasn't a finished product of Jordan Faison, and that's a good thing. We just saw a healthy Jordan Faison. That's what we saw. But we didn't see him as a peak route runner. We didn't see him as a peak contested catch winner. Now, at 5'10", $187, I don't know how many contested catches he's going to continue winning. But point being, we're far away from what his overall ceiling is, which is one of the reasons why I'm over the moon that he's going to be here for the spring. We kind of saw a trend last year of players not either being full-time or completely not being in the spring that kind of took stunts in development. Not good, not bad, just an observation. And technically, honestly, it's more bad than good. But now that Jordan's going to be here 100% of the time with the football program in the spring, I think that's going to help him unlock the technical prowess of the receiver position. Because right now, a lot of the numbers that he's putting out and what he was doing to NC State and Purdue and games down the stretch, I don't want to say he was getting by on just God-given talent, but he wasn't a crazy efficient route runner. It wasn't anything like that. He was doing a lot of his best work to the point of the catch, and he wasn't really getting the ball in his hands while on the move, something that I hope changes. Mm-hmm. Some of that's in his control. Some of it is things getting schemed up a little bit better for him. But I'm with you. I don't think Jordan Faison has hit his ceiling at all in South Bend. Let's talk about the next veteran in this room here, Brian. And we're talking about a player that has just had one of the crazier career paths that I can remember at receiver at Notre Dame, and that's Jaden Greathouse. Somebody who, despite having a very limited role last year, a lot of people still have just this profound confidence in. Totally get it. But Jaden Greathouse, it's a big year for him as well.
It is. I mean, with Jaden, he's been such a tease to Notre Dame fans the last 3 years, really. I mean, ever since he stepped foot on campus, what did he do the first two games? The first game of his career? Caught 2 touchdown passes. Against Navy, if you remember that, going back to the game in Ireland.
Oh yeah,
and then he kind of he was a little banged up, right? That's another thing he's going to have to improve. He got a little bit banged up, and then of course, as a true freshman, they ended up moving him to boundary, and he went. He had his first 5 games: 3 catches, 2 catches, 3, 2, 2. He had 3 touchdowns in 5 games. He was at like 108, 148. 176. So he's like 276 yards or 176 yards in his first 5 games. He had 10 catches his first 5 games, 3 touchdowns already. He was on the verge of doing something as a freshman. Then he gets a little minor thing, doesn't play against Duke, comes back, they move him to boundary. He doesn't catch a single pass for the next 4 games. Then ends the year with 6 catches in 3 games for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's like really good production at the beginning, really good production at the end, and then nothing in the middle. And then we get to last year. He's pretty good in the opener, has that big drop against Northern Illinois, doesn't do anything the next 2 weeks, has a great game against Louisville. We don't see him get targeted at all against Stanford. He has a couple monster catches against Georgia Tech. We get him see one huge catch early against Navy where he just smokes a dude. We talk about understanding how to come off the line the right way and how to manipulate a guy, with your top end. Go watch the post route he ran against Navy on that first drive for a 42-yard game, and we don't see the ball get thrown to him again the rest of the game. And it was kind of like that frustration. And I've tried to tell people, you break the film down from 2024, Jaden Greathouse got open a lot more than he got the football. And then he starts to have a little bit, really good against Florida State. They're game planning for him. They're getting him screens. He goes 5 for 66. And then the next 4 games, including the first-round playoff game, he catches 1 pass in each game and then doubles that all the way up to 2 passes against Georgia. And you're just like, dude, where's he been? And then what's he doing the last 2 games? He goes absolutely off in the last 2 games. It's just been kind of this like, dude, we know he can do it. You don't accidentally have 2 monster games against Penn State and Ohio State, and it's like, well, he's not actually that good of a player. Yeah, he is. There's things they have to do schematically. There's things the quarterback has to do. And there's things Jaden Greathouse has to do to become that player more consistently. And, for whatever reason, they just haven't felt the need to game plan for him the way that we think they need to game plan for him. Except when they need a play. Go back and look at the Texas A&M game. He doesn't get targeted all game. And then Notre Dame falls behind. They need a play. What do? They call slot fade to Jaden Greathouse, and he catches the ball between 3 guys. You know what I mean? Like, they don't just call a play for him all game against Miami until when? The last drive of the game. They design a play where he's running an over route. He beats his guy, and if the left tackle and the right tackle don't get destroyed, CJ's about to hit him for about a 25, 30-yard gain because he got open. He's got to do more to be more assertive in how he plays and how he interacts. And he's got to stay on the field. He had a concussion early in fall camp. Can't control that. It is what it is. But, you've got to stay on the field. You've got to do a better job, in my opinion, of he's a strong kid at the catch point. But if you watch him play, Trev, he doesn't always play with that strength as a route runner. And that's something that I think Jaden can learn. But it's really going to come down to him and CJ Carr have got to get on the same page. And he's got to be there every day. Like, he's got to be out there every day because this kid he's too good. There's too much talent for him to be a guy that we say, well, he's had a few good games, but other than that, that needs to be gone. That needs to be like, dude, where's this guy been the last 3 years? I want to see that Louisville, Texas A&M from 2 years ago, Penn State, Ohio State version of Jaden Greathouse, Georgia Tech version of Jaden Greathouse, Florida State version of Jaden Greathouse. I want to see that a lot more consistently. Part of that's on him. Part of that's on Mike Brown. Part of that's on CJ Carr. Part of that's on Mike Denbrock. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing his potential takeoff this offseason. I'm just glad he's coming back. I think, there was a time where I was concerned he was going to leave. I just hope he comes back with the right attitude and the right focus. And I don't mean right attitude like he had a bad attitude, but I just mean an attitude of, dude, I want to be the best player I can be. I want to show everybody what I'm capable of. Not come back like, screw the coach and I'm going to prove Mike Brown. I don't want to hear, I don't care about all that. I want him to come out and show the world, like, man, I'm going to show the world how good I am. And I'm going to work at it every day. If he does that, I think he's poised for a major breakout. But he's got to stay healthy, Trev. It's the biggest thing with Jaden Greathouse. You got to stay on the field, bro.
He's been the biggest conundrum in this room over the last couple of seasons. And when I mean that, I don't mean from like all the talent in the world and just didn't pan out. We've watched him pan out. But there's just been so much around him that it's just been like, yeah, well, and this year this happened, and then this year this happened, and then for whatever reason, this guy didn't do this, or this guy wasn't connecting with this. It's like, all right, look, here's what I know. When you get number one, the football, good things happen. Sometimes, folks, football is just that simple. We could talk about pre-snap motion and post-snap switches and cutting off routes. Sometimes you just let your dude go be a dude, and you have a dude in the room wearing number one. Now, the frustrating thing with Jaden Greathouse is his career in South Bend so far has kind of been like Charles Jagasaw to a degree. When he's on the field, you know what he can do, and it is impressive, really impressive. I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the best Notre Dame's offense looked. Take away the situation of the game. Some of the best that Notre Dame's offense looked in 2024 was when 56 and 1 were on the field and they were focal points of the offense. I don't think that that's a coincidence. Now, in the same way that we talked about CJ Carr pulling aside Cam Williams and saying, hey, bro, let's go throw. Jaden Greathouse needs to be in CJ Carr's hip pocket of like, hey, bro, you throwing today? Bet. What time? Hey, man, we getting routes in today? And it seems a little weird having to do that, I guess, being a senior. But like, look, man, you have to control everything that you can control. And this is what is at your disposal right now. That and taking the necessary steps to stay healthy. Because when he's on the field, he's a proven dude. Consistency is going to be the name of the game for him. It can't be 7 catches for 106 and 6 catches for $123 and 3 touchdowns in back-to-back games, and then 0 targets with no receptions or 1 target with 1 receptions for 6 games straight. Find the level in between. And we had the same conversation this past offseason of like, look, the expectation for Jaden Greathouse isn't to go out and be Penn State version of him and Ohio State version of him every single week. There's just going to be some games where he catches 4 catches for, 50 yards. It's going to look more like
walking away with the Biletnikoff if he does that every week. Like he's making Devontae Smith's numbers look like.
Yes, 100%.
It's not going to happen.
But if your top end days are like that, and your quote unquote to the fans' eyes, the off days is where you have 4 catches for 47 yards, but all 4 go for first downs. You're keeping drives alive and you're making contested catches. That is a world that I can absolutely live in. But to your point, Brian, it's not just on Jaden Greathouse, but he specifically, because we're talking just about the receivers right now, he specifically needs to control the things that he has the ability to control. And to a degree, that's being healthy and staying on the field. That is getting with your quarterback, your starting quarterback that is now the solidified starter, and working out with him as much as you can in the offseason. It's going to be a big year for Jaden Greathouse. I love the fact that he elected to come back, make it worth it. That's going to be the biggest thing for him.
One critique I would make of Jaden, if I was talking to him, I want to see you take as much pride in what you do on running plays as you do when they call slot fade.
Yeah.
He's a very inconsistent blocker. He's good when he wants to be, but he's got to want to be more.
Sure.
He's got to want to be. I need his play strength to be a lot better next year. It's great in contested catches, but in a lot of the other things, I need it to be better next year. But that 1-2 punch, I've seen people say, oh, they don't have a lot of proven receivers next year. Yeah, they kind of do. You know what I mean? Like, let's like, do they have someone that's is proven as Jeremiah Smith? No, they don't. But Jaden Greathouse in his career has 64 catches for 930 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's nothing to sneeze at. You know what I mean, Trev? And then Jordan Faison in his career has 98 catches for 1,318 yards and 9 touchdowns. Like, this is not a group of guys that just, well, there's a bunch of what ifs. Those are two we knows. I watched Jordan Faison ball out against Indiana in the playoffs the last time Indiana lost a game. I watched him ball out against Georgia and making clutch plays in the second half. Then I watched Jordan Faison go out there and ball out against Penn State and ball out against Ohio State. Like, these are proven players. This is just about elevating their game. There's a lot of teams that would love to be able to build their receiving core around Jordan Faison and Jaden Greathouse. But how good the unit ends up actually being is going to be determined by what we talk about next. Who steps up after those two? And I think that's what's ultimately going to define this room.
Absolutely. And we're going to start that conversation, Brian, with the 2024 class. And it's crazy to say that they are now going into their junior year of college. Sidebar, but feels a little weird to talk about Cam Williams and Micah Gilbert and Logan Saldate as juniors. I mean, I wasn't with Irish Breakdown at the time, but I remember when they signed. You know, I remember when it was big news that they got Cam Williams. And so, yeah, I'm with you. This is going to be a huge year for this class. And look, they have something that previous Notre Dame receivers have not had, and that's a preseason Heisman favorite on FanDuel at quarterback. So you have a strong foundation. Now it's just about turning that potential into production, and this is going to be an absolutely huge year for this class. It really is.
No question. I mean, look, you need at least one of them to step up and make a play. I mean, to be a guy that can make plays. You need at least one. You need one of them to step up. I don't need the whole room to do it. It'd be nice if they did. It'd be nice if Micah and Cam both were like, dude, we're forcing our way onto the field this year. That'd be awesome. I mean, if you told me, Trev, if you had a crystal ball and you could go to the future and you say, hey, Brian, at the end of the year, hey, man, remember what we said we hoped Cam and Micah were going to be? Yeah, they both did it this year. I'm like, oh, man. Hold on, where's my Gap Close t-shirt? We're going to rock that after they win the title. It's happening. You know what I mean? Like, this room would be excellent. Forget everything else. This room would be excellent if those two guys did that. That'd be awesome. I think that's asking a lot. You don't ever hit the inside straight when everybody pans out. You just want more than one. You know what I mean, Trev? But like overall, but from this group, this junior class, you need one. Look, Micah Gilbert's been the guy that's done the most so far at Notre Dame. But, I mean, Micah's also been a guy that just, to me, has kind of been a little disappointing for me so far. And some of it's in his control and some of it's not. He can't control that, you get your hand broke. It's not like he went into practice and like, well, because you weren't paying attention in the film session, your hand got caught in somebody's jersey and it broke. No, it's just bad luck. But when he is on the field, there's so much inconsistency from him from snap to snap on what kind of effort you're going to get. And I wonder if part of it is he certain of what he's supposed to do every rep? But for Micah, it's really about, number one, bro, stay healthy, stay on the field. Like, that's the biggest thing. Because where Micah is now, you've been able to overcome those injuries and still be in the rotation because there wasn't anybody that's going to push you out. That's not the case now. So this is one thing that we haven't talked about enough yet, is one of the benefits of having a group this deep is the level of competition it creates. Dude, if you want to play, you better put in the work. Now, I was told that a couple of these players, including Micah Gilbert, did contemplate transferring and decided to come back. usually when guys do that and decide not to transfer, they tend to come back with a little bit more of a something to prove mentality of, okay, I'm coming back and I'm going to show you what I got. And I'd love to see that from Micah Gilbert this offseason, because when he's on, Trev, he's a pretty good football player. He's got better speed than you'd think. He's got a good sized body. He's got to get still stronger. He's got to be more locked in from an effort standpoint, and he's definitely got to be locked in from a catching standpoint. One of the big frustrations I have with Micah is he tends to drift when he goes up for the football. So like when the ball's thrown in the air, or, like a gold ball, instead of stopping and going up and like back shouldering it like Malachi, he'll jump and kind of drift. He's got to learn to plant and jump vertically. Now, it's impossible to be running full speed and jump straight up in the air. But your mindset has to be that that's what I'm trying to do, because then you jump and you drift, but you're still going vertical. What he does is, as he's running, he just kind of jumps and then just goes like this. It's like he jumps forward instead of up. If he jumps up more, you're going to see Micah become a legit problem for people on back shoulders, because he's long, he's got good athleticism, he's pretty strong at the catch point. He just doesn't play the ball well. And if he's going to be a factor this year, that's got to improve. But the tools are there, Trev, for Micah Gilbert to be a good football player. I still go back to his freshman year, his first spring, man. Him and CJ are just going off together. And we just need to see that Micah Gilbert more consistently. I need just more focus and just being more aggressive attacking the football. Those are two big things for me.
Yeah, those are two big facets for what Micah Gilbert needs to do this offseason. Look, I'll say this, and this is, you can lump all three of these guys together, talking about Micah Gilbert, Cam Williams, and Logan Saldate. This is the make or break year for me for all three of these players, and it's also going to be the class that dictates, and how big of an offseason they have, that will dictate how bought in I am to Mike Brown as a receivers coach. This was the first class that he was around with. They came in as incoming freshmen. Mike Brown was also hired in December of 23, and so this was kind of his first class, and he got to mold himself. There are some things that I like about what they've done so far. I loved what Micah Gilbert did in the spring. I love all of the things that Cam Williams brings to the table athletically. Logan Saldate is a very slept-on slot receiver. I think he has a lot of ability after the catch. With that being said, the thing that makes me nervous are some of the talking points of that we have around these guys. They're gearing up to go into their junior season, and we're still talking about effort and technical prowess and your abilities off the line consistently. And that's a really concerning thing to talk about for soon-to-be juniors. And those are precedents that needed to be set way earlier in their career. Now, we can sit here and play the what if this happened earlier all we want to, but that doesn't really get us anywhere. And so now it's, how do you attack this offseason? This is a huge offseason, because you made such a good point. Unlike other years, it's like you can suffer an injury, you can still kind of be lackadaisical when it comes to certain things. You think Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter and Caden Finley and Bubba Frazier and Devin Fitzgerald and Braden Robinson are just going to be okay with you just chilling? Yep. Not this year. Not this offseason. Huge offseason for this 24 class, man. But I'm with you with everything you said about Micah Gilbert. Love what he brings to the table.
It's now or never for him. It's now or never for Cam Williams. I mean, it just is. And look, there's things that I think Mike Brown has to do better when it comes to Cam Williams. And so we focused early on the Mike Brown side of it, the CJ Carr side of it. You guys got to work on bringing him along as well. At the end of the day, Cam's got to want it.
Yep.
Cam's got to be able to look in the mirror and say, do I want to be a great player or not? Do I want to be a really good player at Notre Dame or not? Or am I just okay being on the team? Like, some guys are okay just being on the team. Hey, I want to get my degree. I don't really love football. I'm just happy to be part of the team. And, it is what it is. I'm good. I get to do my cool little video thing with the little tiny mic and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm good, man. I'm happy. That makes me happy. Fine. If that's all you want to be, that's cool. We don't need to worry about talking about you anymore. I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that's where Cam Williams is. I think Cam wants to be a really good football player. I don't think Cam understands what it takes to be a really good football player. And if that light goes on for him, I've said this before, like if man, give me one offseason of training Cam Williams and that he's going to be a dude. You know what I mean? Like you can turn it around that quickly. Now, fortunately, I don't think he needs me to do that. He's got Mike Brown and the Notre Dame coaching staff. But my point is, if you give him somebody who knows what they're doing in one offseason, if he wants it, he can figure it out. If he wants it. Because here's the thing. I have to believe that if Cam Williams is really just putting in that just the work, man, just getting after it, just like he's just a dog this offseason. Just punishing the weight room, out there every day, catching the 1,000 balls in the jugs, working on the routes. And you know what? He just doesn't always remember the plays. They'll figure that part out. I got to think that. You know, I have a hard time believing that would be the case. But if you're going to put a guy in there that doesn't always have great technique and isn't always sure what he's doing, he better be a guy that's giving you everything he's got on the weight room and on the practice field and every day. Putting in that extra work. Some guys just don't always remember plays. It just, like, there's some subjects, Trev. I mean, I could pull stuff up about history that I remember learning as a kid, reading a book on the bookmobile. We used to have, do you guys have bookmobiles when you were a kid?
Yep.
Love bookmobile. And we would go on there and they had like a table in the back and I could go back there and like read through history books. I can still remember some of the stuff. You start throwing numbers and letters together in a math class, I'm like, I'm out. No thanks. I'm going to learn enough to pass this class. You know what I mean? Like some things I just didn't click as well.
Sure.
But if everything else is there, the work is there, the talent's there, then we'll figure something out from a playbook standpoint. But as a position coach, you got to show me you want that first. And that's what Cam has to do. He's got to show me that he wants it. And if he's willing to do that, then I think he'll have a chance. Because listen, I've talked to scouts, I've talked to people that have been at practice who aren't part of the team. And every time I talk to somebody, they're like, dude, number 5 is just different athletically than everybody else. He's just different. The talent is there. Does Cam want to be a great player? If the answer to that is yes, verbally, okay, that's not that. I don't care about that answer. And I don't know many people that are like, nah, I'm good. Verbally, like, I'm good. They almost everybody says, yeah, I want to. But what defines whether you want to be great or not is what work do you put in? I'm at every lift and I'm at every practice on time and I leave on time and I do what the coaches tell me to do. That's it? What do you mean that's it? Yeah, is that it? You know, like, do you think Jerry Rice became Jerry Rice because he just showed up to the weight room on time and did the work the coaches asked him to do and showed up to practice on time and, you know, did what the coaches needed him to do and showed up at study hall all the time and did what he was supposed to do? No, they say that stuff is just the bare minimum of what I'm going to do. That's the givens. That's the stuff you do to keep your scholarship. You know, like this is about, bro, are you putting in that extra work? Hey, coach, I need you to leave the jugs on. I haven't caught 1,000 balls yet today. You know, like, hey, CJ, I want Cam Williams. CJ, what you doing? Let's go throw the rock. Let's go work on this. Hey, Jaden Greathouse. Hey, Jordan Faison. Hey, whoever. Man, can you work with me on this? Hey, Coach Brown, can we spend some time today going through some film? Like, that's what I think the Notre Dame coaches are waiting on. This is just my opinion. I think they're waiting on Cam Williams to give them a reason to invest more in him. And if he can figure that out and that light goes on this offseason, bro, he could be a stud. The talent is still there, Trev. And we even saw it on the play against Navy where he runs an awkward route coming off the line, doesn't take a proper angle, but still runs by the guy for 5 yards. You remember that? And the ball gets underthrown. I think he got a PI on it. Like, dude, he didn't even run the route remotely properly and torched the Navy cornerback by like 5 yards.
Yep.
And you're like, dude, if he can ever figure it out, oh my goodness. That's the town is there.
Oh, clearly. And it always has been. And it's almost kind of fitting that the team mantra this year, I guess, is leave no doubt. And that's something that Cam Williams is going to have to do. You need to force the coach's hand to put you on the field. I am too good to not play me. And that's what he has to take into the offseason. Let's talk about Logan Saldate, Brian. And I think there's a lot of opportunity on the table for him because we're talking about, he fits in a position where the depth behind it is kind of up in the air right now. You got Jaden Greathouse coming back. You have Jordan Faison who can fit in the slot, but you're not really giving Jordan Faison a breather if, when Jaden Greathouse needs spelled, you just move Faison into the slot. So I think that there is a lot of opportunity, like there is for Mikey Gilbert and Cam Williams, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for Logan Saldate to come in and make some noise this offseason and kind of be in that 2 deep. He has a chance to fight for a spot in that rotation, and I'm excited to watch him do it this year.
He's another guy, Trev, that this is your last chance. I mean, you've got some really talented young players coming behind you. You've got, obviously, a guy in your class and Matt Jeffrey. You've got Bubba Frazier. You got Braden Robinson. And the other thing, too, that Logan is battling against because of the presence of Elijah Burris and Caden Finley and Dylan Faison and Jordan Faison, all guys that can also play the slot, you're competing against them as well. Or here's who else you're competing against: James Flanagan, Ty Washington, Jack Larson, because they could just say, look, when we need to get Jaden Greathouse off the field, we're just going to go 12 personnel and take the slot off and put in a tight end. So you're going against a lot of people there. I've heard some good things about Logan. He's fast. He can run. Again, he's got to get a lot stronger, and he's just got to be more assertive. It's the same story we hear with this entire junior class. How bad do you guys want it? And now's your chance to show it, because if you don't show it this year, by next spring, Bubba Frazier and Braden Robinson are going to have passed you up. Like, they just will. So it's a big year for Logan Saldate as well, and he brings a very different skill set than the other two players. Very different skill set.
No, he does, and I'm excited to watch what he can do this spring, and hopefully he's able to take that next stride, because there is opportunity on the table there. I'm with you. Let's talk a little bit about a player that you just mentioned, Elijah Burris. He's the best receiver that came in the 2025 class. Scrap Richardson is transferred, and you still have Jerome Bettis Jr. on the roster. But Elijah Burris started to turn heads last spring. He caught the walk-off touchdown that C.J. Carr threw in the Jersey scrimmage in the spring.
That was
impressive.
Too. He had a double tap in the back of the end zone. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a catch on Sundays.
On top of getting over top of the defense.
Yep. Very impressive player. Is this the year that he now makes a push to get into the rotation? That's going to be fun to watch.
I think they're hoping he does. I think they're hoping that Elijah has the kind of offseason that forces them to play him more. Mike, I mean, look, do you remember when Mike Denbrock called out Elijah Burris last year in a press conference? Yeah. And he talked about, like, and I've heard this. I've heard this from defensive people on the team. Dude, nobody can cover that guy. Like, even Leonard Moore has problems at times covering that kid because he's such a freaky route runner. He's just he's like kind of that weird athlete that just can stop and move on a dime, and it makes him really hard to cover and run with, because you think he's running vertical. Like, where'd he go? And he catches the ball well. He's got to get stronger, which you expect from a younger, skinnier player. But then Denbrock calls him out, and he's like, yeah, I wish he knew where he was going. Wish he knew the plays. Why is he calling him out? Is he calling him out because he doesn't think the kid can play? This kid's never going to play for us. He's not that good of a player, so let me call him out at a press conference. No, he's calling him out because this guy can be a dude if he would do this thing that we need him to do. And that's really the big thing for Elijah this summer and this offseason is going to be, the spring and offseason is going to be, can you become a consistent player? The coaches that the coaches can trust. He knows where to line up. He knows what routes to run. He knows the checks, because, like, listen, it's not as simple as saying just go run a hitch. But what if it's cover two? What if what's my conversion call? I mean, if the guy's off the ball and he squats up, do I run by him? Do I still run my hitch? If the guy's playing short and then he bails, do I hitch or I keep going? I mean, you ever see a quarterback drop back and a receiver stops at 6 yards and the quarterback throws the ball down the field and the only person down there is the cornerback who picks it up? That's on the receiver or the quarterback in some sort of miscommunication. Most likely it's on the receiver. That's why the corner's down there. Or you ever see a quarterback throw a ball downfield and you're like, who the heck was he throwing to? Well, somebody didn't convert their route properly, or the quarterback read it incorrectly. It can be either. But the point is, there's post-snap adjustments that you'll make based on what the defense does post-snap. Just because a guy's playing off the ball doesn't mean, okay, I'm automatically running a hitch. Because if he comes down squats and they roll to cover two, I got to convert that thing into a two-hole throw. And so it's a lot of that stuff too. It's not as simple as like I have a slant here or I have a hitch here. There's a lot more to it. And so I think the challenge for Elijah this offseason is going to be learn to love the weight room. Elijah's got to improve his functional strength. His dad had a very different body type than he had. Plex was able to play strong because he was 6'6", 220 plus. Elijah's got a very different body type. And he's athletic, he's sudden, he's quick, he's got great hands, but he's got to improve that functional strength. That just comes with maturity and spending time in the college weight room. But that's a big part of it. And the other part is just, do you put in the work to be able to play the game with confidence in yourself and then in a way that builds confidence in others around you? But the staff he's a guy that I think there's some people that think because Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter showed up that they're just going to naturally get thrust into it. And they might, but they're going to have to beat out guys like Elijah Burris first. And this is a crucial offseason for Elijah as well. It's not the end all be all like it is for Cam and I think Micah Gilbert and those guys, but it's an important one. And he's a player that I think I've got my eye on this spring, Trev, as what kind of jump does Elijah make? Because if he can make the jump and answer those questions we just talked about, there's a lot of people in the coaches' rooms that think that he can be a really good football player. And I know there's some quarterbacks that think he can be a really good football player. But as a quarterback, I just got to know, man, when I drop back that you're going to be where you're supposed to be. That's a real big thing. And if I know that you're going to be where you need to be, then okay, let's roll. So he's a guy that I absolutely have my eye on this spring. This is a big spring for him. And I feel like a breakout from Elijah Burris hit. If I could say this, Trev, if one of Burris or Cam Williams breaks out this offseason, that's going to have a monster impact on this receiving core. Because they're different. They're different type of players. Like they bring some really unique skills to the table that Notre Dame hasn't had recently. Elijah as just that crazy route runner that just you can't cover. And then Cam is just an absolute burner that can just be a big play weapon. You get those two guys, one of them, if at least one of them steps up this offseason and has a really good offseason, that's going to make this room so much better. If for some reason both of them do, that's where you start getting excited about what this room's going to be.
Well, 100%. I mean, look, I know Mike Brown typically likes to run like a 6-man rotation, but like let's just call it 4. Not that he'll only use 4, but you need 4 key go-to guys. In an ideal world, you have 6. But once you get into the postseason, I think that gets a little bit more difficult to play all 6 of your guys all the time. So you need 4 consistent players in your receiver rotation. Let's chalk up 2 of them are already solid. Jordan Faison, Jaden Greathouse. Cool. So you have 2 more open slots in that kind of go-to, big play, like 4 surefire things in the receiving room. Of those 2 open slots, you need one of Cam Williams, Micah Gilbert, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter, Elijah Burris. This is what I was talking about with the margin for error. Now, in years past at Notre Dame, you would have 2 open slots and you needed 2 guys to pan out. Now it's okay. Can you hit on 2 of the 5? And your job as the position coach is to ideally go 5 for 5. Now, in a perfect world, sure. But I'm with you. Elijah Burris has all the opportunity in front of him. Very excited to see what he does this year. And he's also going to be joined in Notre Dame's receiving room by the 2 transfers that they brought in from Ohio State, Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter.
This is the whole point, Trev. This is where my excitement comes from because we're just going guy after guy after guy after guy after guy where we're saying if this guy steps up, he's a dude. If this guy steps up, he's a dude. 2 things about that. Number 1 is I'm kind of sick of saying if this guy steps up, he can be a dude. I just wish some guys were flipping dudes. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's what you said at the beginning. If it comes down to we got 2 guys and we need them both to step up or we're in trouble. You're in trouble because it's rare that that narrow of a margin for error is there. Now it's like, look, we got 2 guys who already know what they can do. This guy's stay healthy. After that, we got like 12 guys, and we just need 4 of them to step up. Like, dude, like hitting 1/3 in that kind of development is kind of like baseball. If you're a 333 career hitter, bro, you're going to the Hall of Fame if you play long enough. If you can hit 1/3 of 12 guys, you got a pretty darn good receiving core to go with the 2 guys you already have. And I think they're more than capable of having that. And I think these 2 transfer receivers are, to me, what put it over the top for Notre Dame. Because it's like, I don't know if it was just came down to Micah and Cam that I'd have a great level of confidence, because they both have their issues. Cam's is about, how bad do you want this? And Micah's like, dude, can you stay healthy? Micah could go ball out the first 3 games of the year last year and then get hurt again. But now it's Cam, Micah, and Quincy Porter competing for that job. It's Elijah Burris or Caden Finley and Mylan Graham. You know what I mean, Trev? So it's the depth of talent that makes a way wider margin for error in this room, which is what gives me more excitement. And here's the other thing. You can't convince me that Mylan Graham doesn't belong in the conversation for who's the most physically gifted guy at the position. Last year was a no-brainer. It was 2 guys. One old, one young. It's Malachi Fields and Cam Williams. And like, there's a big gap between everybody else, just God-given ability. For Malachi, it was just crazy size and length and athleticism. Cam, it's just elite athleticism. Now it's Quincy Porter's in that conversation. Mylan Graham's in that conversation. Caden Finley's in that conversation, along with Cam and Elijah Burris and Bubba Frazier. You know what I mean? And even Braden Robinson. I've said this before. If Braden Robinson were 4 inches taller, he's a 5-star. That guy's a stud. He's just 5'6", 5'7", $156. So Mylan and Quincy, to me, Trev, you need one of them to be able to come in and play right away, I think. If both can, that would make it even better, because these are 2 legitimate playmakers. I mean, look, Archer in the chat will tell you, Ohio State wanted them both back. They wanted them both back. They didn't want to lose either one of them. They're going to be okay, because that's what happens when you recruit the way that they have at that position. They wanted them both back. They're not guys that got processed out. You hope that they come here reinvigorated a little bit and understand what's in front of them. For Quincy Porter, it's about, dude, get healthy. Number one, get healthy, learn the offense. And then for Mylan, it's like, he's got a little bit of Cam Williams in him. How bad do you want this? That's the one knock I heard on him from people at Ohio State. Is like, he's got all the talent in the world, but we don't always know that he really wants to be great. My hope is that part of the reason he came to Notre Dame, where he knows he's got to put in a lot more work in the classroom and different areas, that he came here with that, I'm looking for a fresh start, and I want to prove myself a certain way. I hope that's the case, because if Mylan Graham answers that one question, how bad do you want this, in a positive way, you're not keeping him off the field this year. You're just not. He's going to play. Whether that's starter, backup, whatever the case may be, he's going to play and he's going to help you. And then when Jordan Faison graduates after this year, that's the guy that steps right in and is like, okay, he's about to be a breakout star. That's what he's capable of. But he's also got 6 career catches. I want to remind you all that Will Fuller had 6 career catches going into his 1,000-yard season in 2014. I'd also like to remind you that Golden Tate had 6 career catches going into his 1,000-yard season in 2008. I would like to remind you that Equinemi St. Brown had 1 career catch going into his 2016 season, where he was a bowl game away from being a 1,000-yard receiver. I don't care about past production. I care about talent, work ethic, and the guy's understanding of the game. There's been plenty of guys that have had breakout seasons who didn't do anything before at receiver. It's, do you have the talent? Can you put in the work? And can you develop trust from your quarterback and your position coach and your coordinator? That's the key. And Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter both have the ability to be difference makers. Quincy also brings the one. He's the Malachi of this room, in that he brings a physical presence that you just don't have. I mean, he didn't do it last year at Ohio State. He only caught 4 passes. But you go back and watch his junior and especially his senior season film at Bergen Catholic. He's a contested catch wizard in high school, which is why he was ranked as a 5-star. I mean, his length, his catch radius, his ball skills at the high school level were elite. He just was blocked by Jeremiah Smith. He's going to get a chance to say, hey, now this is the opening is there for me. I want to be that guy now, as opposed to waiting one more year. Because how do you justify taking Jeremiah Smith off the field for anybody?
Right.
You know, you just don't. And I think he's more of a natural boundary than he is a guy that can move around a lot. So that's going to be the big thing for him is, okay, you made this move because you want to be the guy. Now go earn it. Now go show that you need to be that way. What I think is going to help Quincy a lot is he's not walking into a room where he's just by far the best guy in the field and everybody else is beneath him. He's going to be like, dude, this 14 can play, man. This number 5 this guy's faster than I am. You know, like these freshmen can ball. Like he's going to see some dudes that can play. And I think that's going to help him, you know, continue to elevate his game. But he brings that unique boundary skill set that I mean, everybody, Micah Gilbert can play Z and some slot. I think Cam can play all over. The one guy that you look at and be like, God made him to be a boundary receiver is Quincy Porter.
I love all of the returning talent on this roster, all the players coming back. But I think the 2 transfers you got from Ohio State are the catalyst in this room. That's how I view them. Notre Dame doesn't go and put in the work to get both of Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter to come to South Bend without some thought of, yeah, they're going to play. Mm-hmm. Now, again, margin for error conversation. Let's just say, for argument's sake, they don't pan out. Then you do still have Cam Williams. You do still have Micah Gilbert. You do still have Logan Saldate. You have Elijah Burris, and then obviously a host of incoming freshmen that we're getting ready to talk about. But those 2 guys, to your point, Brian, are what puts this room over the top for me. And they give you an aspect of 2 things that you just didn't have before. Ohio State for the last decade has been a wide receiver factory. And Archer just said it in the chat. Their projected starters were going to include one of Mylan or Quincy. And they both came to Notre Dame. So it's not like one of them stayed at Ohio State because they were edging out at the starter and then the other one left that wasn't going to win it. They both came to Notre Dame.
Well, in Mylan, they especially fought to keep him. Like they fought hard to keep him at Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
And did some things that if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're like, that's a little underhanded. But for Ohio State, it was like, look, we're just trying to prolong the process so we can have more time to convince him to come back. If Notre Dame did that, we'd be like, that's smart, you know. But since it's the other team did it to the guy that we want, it's like, whoa, bunch of scumbags, you know what I mean? But if he wanted to go to Ohio State and Notre Dame was doing that, I'd be like, that's really smart. You know, give yourself time to try to convince him to stay, and that's really smart strategy. You know, they were always going to let him go, but they needed to do this. You know what I mean? Like that's part of the deal. They wanted them both to stay, and like you said, Trev, they got both of them. Now they have to come in, and here's the concern with them. You're coming in from wide receiver. You don't come in thinking you're just like you're here and everybody else is beneath you. Kneel before me, Notre Dame receivers. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to work. There's some dudes here. You know, like Jaden Greathouse did more in the semifinals and national title game than the 2 of you guys have done combined in your football career so far. You know what I mean? So like you got to prove yourself. If they come in with the right attitude and the willingness to work and prove themselves, they've got a chance to be dudes. There's no question about it, Trev. And I like what you said about them being the catalyst. I'd like for you to explain more of what that means if I don't get it right. Are you saying like I loved the talent in the room, but the arrival of these 2 guys gives me a greater level of confidence that this room is going to be good because they have that, like they're in that conversation of who's the most talented guy in the room. And now you've added 2 more pieces to that puzzle that come from a place where they were developed by an elite receiver developer. Like that raises the bar. It raises the floor of expectation. Is that what you mean by callous, or do you mean it in another way?
No, that's exactly what I meant by catalyst. You're bringing in 2 high-level guys, right?
Got it right.
You did the best job ever. So You're bringing in 2 top-level guys, and you're not banking on, like I've said before, a fifth-year senior from a Nevada to come in and be like, hey, if this doesn't work out, you kind of have, old reliable, somebody that's been around the game for a long time. You know what I mean? Like that's how I view about them. It's like you are now bringing in people that are competing with the most athletic players in your room. With all due respect, you're not bringing in Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter to go toe-to-toe with Jerome Bettis Jr., who's still a couple of years away from seeing significant minutes, or coming into battle with, I guess it's hard to even pick out names in this room. You know what I'm saying? Or one of the walk-ons. But with that being said, they're coming in to compete with Elijah Burris. They're coming in to compete for playing time with Jaden Greathouse and Jordan Faison and Cam Williams and Micah Gilbert. That's why they push them so much. That's why they push to get them so much. But, Brian, we can't talk about talent, potential, and upside and potential stars without talking about the 2026 class. Yeah. Because this will be the class that pushes everybody in front of them.
Yep. And this is the one that makes you think, okay, what I liked about the portal, what they did too, Trevor, is they got a guy with freshman eligibility and sophomore eligibility. And then you bring in the 5 freshman transfers. And then you look at Elijah Burris, took a red shirt last year. Look at this depth chart, Trev. There's 15 guys on this roster. 12 of them. I'm sorry, I counted that wrong. 13 of them have freshman or sophomore eligibility. Think about that. The only 2 that don't are Jaden Greathouse and Jordan Faison. And the only guy that's out of eligibility after 2026 is Jordan Faison. Now, I'll be honest. I hope that Jaden Greathouse doesn't come back in 2027. Do you know why I hope that, Trevor? I hope that because I hope that he's so good that he's like, dude, you're going to be a day 2 draft pick. I'd love for you to come back for your 5th year too, but it's you were lighting it up this year. Like I always kind of want that to be the case, but I like the fact they went out and got young guys because that means that you're going to have time to develop these guys. But to your point, there's a lot of those guys with that SOPH on there that if you don't ball out this spring and this summer, that guy with the FR period after their name is going to say, okay, cool. You don't want to do that? I'll do it. Coach, get me the ball. And you're going to have to be on top of your game. To your point, hey, look, if those boundaries don't want to go play, they'll just put Caden Finley over there. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
those Z's don't. They don't want to put in the work. Fine, hey, Caden, get in there and show them how it's done.
All of the things that we talked about earlier: lack of consistency and urgency off the line, putting in the work in the weight room, all of that stuff. This 2026 class is going to come in, and they're going to take advantage of every single opportunity that they have. And the talent level in this freshman class is of such as it could be a situation where, hey, if they get that opportunity, they might just hold on to it and not let anybody else get it. That's how talented that they are. Now, it is crazy to say that in a world where there's 15 scholarship wide receivers and 5 of those being the incoming true freshmen. But look, man, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that Caden Finley does that. If nobody else wants to step up and back up Jaden Greathouse as a slot, Bubba Frazier would be chomping at the bit to get in there. Devin Fitzgerald's kind of like my sleeper guy out of this class. Of like, hey, nobody else wants to put in the work. People aren't staying healthy. People aren't taking the extra time outside of practice going. You're going to see number 11 slowly rise up in the depth chart. And that's before factoring in the genetics fully kicking in because he is still Larry Fitzgerald's kid. You know what I mean? So like this 26 class is going to really push people in front of them. Not so much Greathouse or Faison. They're going to catch wind of it a little bit, but I'm talking about the 24 class, talking about the transfers. If they come in with kind of that God complex of we just came from wide receiver U, the only reason we didn't play was because Jeremiah Smith moved over everybody. Yeah, guys like Caden Finley are going to have some things to say about that too. I'm very excited to see this freshman receiving class in the spring, and they're all here, which is really, really, really exciting.
Yeah. We talk about 15 guys, Trev. They're literally all on campus right now. I mean, there's no summer enrollees at receiver. They're all going to be here now. the competition is going to be great. But that's also presents a challenge as we kind of wrap this up for Mike Brown to make sure you're coaching the whole room. I would assume that Notre Dame is going to add some help to the coaching staff this offseason for Mike Brown. The guy that they had working with him last year, I think it was Tom Spalding, I think it was his name. He got hired as a position coach somewhere, which is great. So they're going to need to add. I would actually honestly want to add maybe 2 analysts or a GA and an analyst to the receiver room, because I think it's unfair to ask Mike Brown by himself to handle 15 guys. It's a lot like you watch the offensive line. You go watch Joe Rudolph coach in practice, and he's obviously very active. But then you look over here, and there's a group of guys going with, I think it's Rob Delaney, Coach Delaney, and he's coaching them up. I mean, and it's not like Joe Rudolph's like standing there like, oh, okay, did he get it right? Yeah, okay, good job, buddy. Like, no, dude, you take them and go coach them up. I'm going to take them and go coach them up. And I need to trust that you're going to coach them up the same way that I'm coaching them up. Emphasis on toughness, technique, all this kind of stuff. You're going to need the same thing at receiver, where in certain parts of the practice, Mike Brown's worried about the 1s and 2s, while the other coach is there with the young guys talking through different things or coaching them up on certain things, or he's taking them in certain parts of the practice and, he's in their ear and he's showing them certain things like, so Mike Brown's leading you through a drill and your GA or your analyst is over there after Caden Finley comes off the route and he's like, okay, come here. Look, listen, you need to make sure you're doing this. Like, drive your hips, right? You know what I mean? Like, don't use your feet as your brake. Use your hips as your brake. That's how you 1-2 it out of there, as opposed to when you use your hands and feet, you're all like, wailing and everything. Like, do this. Like, hey, when you're going at the guy, you want to be aiming at my outside shoulder. You want to press my leverage. You want to widen me out. Then you want to get up inside. You want him to be able to do that. Mike Brown can't do that for every single kid. It's just not possible. So I think that's something else that Coach Freeman can do to help Mike Brown out, is get him at least 1, if not 2, really qualified younger coaches. And then now some of that will be Mike Brown coaching them up, but guys that you can trust to say, hey, man, I need you to work with these kids. I need you to help this kid. I would honestly have someone that's like, your job is, here's what your job is. Okay, you're going to help me out. Here's what your job is, bro. You're going to help me make sure that Cam Williams, Mylan Graham, and Quincy Porter are doing what they need to do. That's literally your job as a GA or an analyst. Number 5, number 3, and number 0. That's your job. And like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Just things like that, though. It can't just be Mike Brown, not with 15 guys. And I don't mean like, it's actually more than 15, because like they have Alex Whitman and Xavier Southall, whose dad Corny Southall played in Notre Dame. There's actually more than 15. This is just the 15 scholarship players. You can't ask one receivers coach, and you don't ask offensive line coaches to do that. Harry Heastan had helpers. Joe Rudolph has helpers. So does Al Washington. So did Mike Elston. I think you're going to need that at receiver with how much room you have. And hopefully Coach Freeman and Coach Denbrock are able to emphasize getting Mike Brown the help he's going to need to coach up a room that big. Most times receiver coaches have between like 9 to 12 players at the most of scholarship players. You're 15. That's a lot. Now, the one guy that I don't think will be out there much in the spring is probably Matt Jeffrey, because he'll be playing lacrosse. And then Dylan Faison's also going to be playing lacrosse. So at least that kind of helps you a little bit as far as they're not going to be at every practice. But then that also can add challenges to you, because now you've got to make the time outside of your normal work time to get them caught up on stuff. So it's a challenge, and they're going to need to make sure Coach Brown has the tools he needs to be able to coach this room up the way it needs to be coached. Because as we've been saying for the last couple hours, Trev, there's so much talent in this room. Size, athleticism, ball skills, route running potential, speed. I mean, there's so much potential. But what do we say every time we use that word potential? I just am looking forward to the time we don't have to keep using that word to describe this position group. Because we're like, it's been going on for like 6 years now.
That's
where we potential. I want it to be like, dude, they have one of the best receiver rooms in the country. Not they could have. If this happens, they will have. It's, dude, they've got it. They've got one of the best receiver rooms in college football. The potential's there. I just want to start. I can't wait till the day where we can actually say this is who they are, not who we think they can be.
Agreed. And I want it to be a much more encompassing conversation when we talk about Notre Dame's receiving course, because that's the $1 million question. Is this finally the year that this wide receiver room takes the jump and is the unit that we expect them to be? This next offseason, I want to talk about this room and their performances the season as a whole. You know what I mean? Not so much, hey, go back and watch that one play in this quarter on this drive that he made this catch. He could do it. We just got to see like a lot more of it. I want that conversation to be, yo, did you not just watch what he did in 2026? Every week? That's what I want it to be. Now, we're Irish Breakdown. We're still going to pick out individual plays. But with that being said, I don't want it to have to be that.
And I would say there's only one guy on the roster right now that we could say that about.
Yeah.
And that's Jordan Faison.
Yeah.
That's the one guy you're like, dude, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, yes, I think he can get better. But if he just is the same guy next year that he was this year, all right, cool. Pretty good. It's a pretty good player. You know what I mean? Like, even with Greathouse, we've seen him do it in flashes, but not consistently. He hasn't come close to maximizing his potential. Jordan Faison's the one guy you're like, no, he's good. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. You know, and that's not a great rate. 1 out of 15 ain't great.
Yeah, and in something like a receiving core, you can't have just one guy set the floor. You can't. That's dangerous territory. But I'm with you. This is an exceptionally talented group, one that is poised to have a big year. Now it's just about going to do it. Because if we had the answer to that question, I'd probably already be getting my ring size fit and sending that off to whoever I needed to. But folks, that is going to do it for part 2 of today's show. We're getting ready to end today with a mailbag. But before we get there, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell, whatever streaming platform you listen to us on. We would greatly appreciate a 5-star review. But as always, the best way to support what we do here is subscribe to the premium message boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com.